I want to welcome in here our friend MicroMike, because he's going to help us break this down and, of course, talk a little bit about the Lions offseason. Let's get him in here, shall we? MicroMike.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? What's going on, man? Happy free agency week. And, I'm at Ford Field right now.
Hey, well, Mike, we appreciate you for taking the time. You can find Mike, of course, Lions Talk by Chat Sports, MicroMike. You can check him out. We'll have the link in the description. Mike, I want your initial reaction, DJ Reader. I know you're probably posting some stuff on your channel, which people can go check out. But what can DJ Reader bring to the Detroit Lions? How would you grade this signing?
I'm giving this an A. I think it's an A signing. It's a great signing. I wanted the interior of the defensive line to be addressed, and they did that. Now you put DJ Reader and Aleem McNeil together. Oh my God, that's fantastic! It's going to open it up for Aiden Hutchinson a little bit, and I got to say this. You bring in Josh Jacobs over there for the Green Bay Packers, DeAndre Swift for the Chicago Bears, Aaron Jones over there for the Vikings, and now we can even stop the run even better. We were number 2 last year. Let's go ahead and make it number 1. This is a great signing. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, the sacks, folks." He's a nose tackle, so he's going to be stopping the run and taking on those double teams. He's not going to be the sack master.
Hey, Mike, I like that, the sack master. Hey, quick question. Following this DJ Reader stuff, it feels like Brad, obviously he's got corners, defensive tackle, brought in an edge, different pieces. Where do you think his next step is and kind of the next move here in free agency? I feel like there's probably one more piece to be done before the draft, just because there's a handful of pieces still left. What is your next step here, you think, for Brad?
It's interesting here. They can go in many different routes. I'd like for them to get another edge rusher. I still would like look Marcus Davenport. I think he's a situational guy, but I would still like to get a little more depth there. And at that point, maybe just re-sign your own guys. Get ready for the draft where you can get your guard to replace Jonah Jackson or a corner, whoever you want to get in the draft. I think the main portion is done. But if we can get one more guy at the edge, that would satisfy me for sure. You just want to make sure that this defensive line is throwing waves of folks at teams this year. We need to get after the quarterback. We need to make sure that we get pressure up front, and that's what I'd like to see. And then just focus on the draft. That's what it's all about, folks. It's the draft. I know a lot of people love free agency, and they say Brad Holmes is a bum because we don't get the guy that they want. But let's be honest here. It's majority draft. You want to build the roster through the draft. That's where you're going to get your studs. And that's what Brad Holmes has done. That's why this team is good.
Yeah, Mike. Moves have been made. And some Lions fans that were hating on Brad the last couple of days, they've been shut up. But especially after this DJ Reader signing, who do you think on the defense is going to take the biggest step forward next year?
Ooh, the biggest step forward. That is a fantastic question. You know what? How about we go with Jack Campbell? He come in here as a rookie last year, and Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes getting a lot of credit. I could see a big jump for him coming in this year, especially with the defensive line getting better with the run stuffing. Jack Campbell then probably can get more tackles and hopefully get a bigger role for this football team. Spent the 18th pick on him, so I'd love to see him from a defensive perspective to take that next step for sure.
Mike, obviously, we expect a few more moves to be made in free agency, but what kind of angle do you think the Lions take with their first-round pick now that some of these moves have been made?
That is so awesome because it's going to be difficult for us to figure out what they're going to do with that first pick. They got corners in free agency, so you're not pressed to get there. They got a defensive tackle, so you're not pressed to get there. They got an edge rusher. You're not pressed to get there. You look at it, it's like, okay, guard. That's the one need, but Brad Holmes, he does BPA. So I think if it's a guard, edge, corner, or even a defensive tackle at 29, the best player available, that's the route they're going to go. I truly do believe that. I know a lot of people don't want to go offensive line, but make no mistake about it. If there is a starting guard at 29 that the Lions can get to place in front of Jonah Jackson, that's the route they should go. Maybe a pass rusher falls there. They can go anyway. That's what I love about this free agency so far. They get 2 corners, an edge, and a DT. Well, you pretty much got a lot of holes kind of filled up. Now it's just go BPA, whoever's available.
Mike, you kind of see now with the offseason, the free agency period, wrapping up a little bit over the last couple of days. We'll see what more moves the Lions can make. Carlton Davis, they traded for him. They acquired him, corner from Tampa. Bigger. He can guard number 1 receivers. He's been a little nicked up through his career. He's never played a full season, but still he's not – I wouldn't say he's a big injury concern, like he's going to miss a lot of games. But what are your thoughts on them kind of revamping the corner room? They brought in Amik Robertson. What's your thoughts on the corner room from last year to this year and how much it's upgraded?
I am happy that they revamped this bad boy because that corner room last year was booty cheeks. It was awful. People were getting blown out left and right. And I know, especially with Carlton Davis, Emmanuel Mosley, we're looking at there's injury concerns. And I do have concerns about that as well. But the talent level of the players that they got, I do think is better than what we had last year. And I truly do believe they'll get a cornerback in this year's draft. That's probably going to end up being their number one once he's developed at some point. Remember, they get their cornerstones through the draft. It's not going to be through free agency that they're going to make their staple for any part of this football team.
Yeah, agreed.
Also here, real quick, other side of the ball, Mike. Talked about this yesterday. We actually had a pretty good conversation, I felt like, yesterday on our show about this, but the whole Josh Reynolds saga with him hasn't re-signed yet. We're sitting here kind of waiting what's going to happen. We spoke yesterday about how we kind of probably just kind of getting a feel on the market of what he's worth and kind of wants to just feel that out a little bit. Would you want to bring Josh Reynolds back on like a little bigger, like it's probably going to have to be a bigger deal than the last 2 years? Or would you rather just say, let's just get someone in the second round. Let's get another weapon to add to this offense for Jared Goff and Ben Johnson here?
Yeah, the wide receiver market's a little bit slow right now in free agency, and I'm sure Josh Reynolds is trying to feel his worth as well as the Lions are letting him feel his worth so they don't overspend. I like Josh Reynolds. I may be minute on this, but given that he got 600 yards this season, it was a lot of crucial downs that he got these big yards in. Besides the NFC Championship game, I feel like he really can help this offense out as a number 4/5 wide receiver. Of course, we're all going to look at the NFC Championship where he dropped those balls and really hate on him. But if you look at his tenure as a Detroit Lion, he's done fairly well, given the circumstances. So if we can bring him back, I would like that. His chemistry with Goff is right then and there. We don't need to wait for development of a wide receiver. They can get from game one and just start kind of where they're at. Now, if they don't bring him back, it's probably due to financial. And I prefer if they were to get a wide receiver, maybe a little bit later in the draft. I think second round, you could still get some defense or a guard, something a little more pressing. Because if you look at the wide receivers right now, you got St. Brown and you got Jamison Williams, you got Khalif Raymond, Sam Laporta, the tight end, gets a lot of targets. So if you're to draft a guy significantly high in the draft, he's probably not going to get that many targets, warranting where he goes in the draft. But if they get a wide receiver early, I'm a Brad Holmes guy. You know, I say Brad Holmes we trust. That's how I've been in this free agency.
Let's go.
And that's the way it should be, folks. And all these people ripping on Brad Holmes and Mike Valenti saying it's arrogant. Folks, this guy has turned this franchise around in 3 years from one of the worst rosters ever to a very good young roster, 7th best cap in the NFL. Kudos to Brad Holmes for what he's doing.
And Lucas, real quick,
I'm going to switch up the tempo just a second, Mike, because I do love what Brad's doing. But one thing, I won't say that I hate it, but I'm definitely questioning is the Marcus Davenport signing. Now, I'm not saying I think he sucks or anything like that. I think he's going to be a depth piece. But I just think 1 year, $6.5 million. He had 2 sacks last year, and then in the year prior to that, New Orleans, 15 games, half a sack. So what do you think it is that he sees in Marcus Davenport? And when it comes down to it, what do you expect from him when the season kicks off?
You know, look, we could always question some of the moves and the free agent moves that he makes, and that's perfectly fine. That's what we're supposed to do, right? And Marcus Davenport is not a guy who you think is going to be a staple that's going to come in here and be Aiden Hutchinson. When I seen that, I was kind of with you, like, we got to see what they're going to do. And my expectation is they're going to get a guy in the draft. And so probably what they see in Davenport is someone familiar with Aaron Glenn's defense, New Orleans Saints. He got injured in Minnesota, so maybe they can bring that better part of him out that he was with New Orleans with. With you, it's a little sketch. It's a little sketch because you bring in all these injured players throughout the years. A lot of the time, it doesn't really work out. But look, they're doing a 1-year flyer. It's a 1-year deal. If it doesn't work out, oh well, it's a 1-year deal. If it works out, great. So that's what I'm going with it. I'm not saying that Brad Holmes deserved no criticism whatsoever. That's utterly ridiculous. He definitely deserves criticism. I deserve criticism. But to jump off the Brad Holmes bandwagon, just say this guy's a bum and all this and that, it's ludicrous. But yeah, with you, Davenport, I would like to see a better edge rusher in there. Hopefully we get one here in free agency and maybe in the draft as well.
And Mike, a lot of the NFC teams made some moves this weekend. I just kind of want to get where you're at on that, and how do the Lions match up with teams like the Eagles, the 49ers, now that they've made some moves?
Eagles made some moves, Mike.
Yeah, the Eagles made some moves. They got CJ Gardner face mask. So look, some teams made some moves, and that's okay. It doesn't really matter what happens in March. I want to see what happens actually when the game time takes place. You know, you could be great in free agency, right? We had the dream team like the Eagles. What is it, like 15 years ago? They had Omni Asamoah. They had all these players end up being a bust.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to wait a little bit to see what actually happens with these players that other teams signs. When it comes to the NFC North, clearly they're taking a note out of the Detroit Lions. They want to run the football because the Lions were very good stopping the run, and they want to stop the run. And that's the adjustments you're seeing in the NFC North. And it's great to see how other teams are adjusting around what the Lions are doing instead of the other way around. It's great. So they get Josh Jacobs. They get all these running backs. We'll get a DJ Reader. So it's just like that moment in the Avengers where Iron Man says, well, we have a Hulk. So that's what's going on here. And the guy is like a Hulk, by the way.
Yeah, no question about it. Mike, also what happened the day before, I mean, the DJ Reader news kind of took over, and that's really all that mattered. But, you know, early on in the day, Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes were extended through 2027. It was announced. Sheila Ford had some nice things to say. What does this mean? I mean, you look back, and Jeremy Reisman put this out. The last time the Lions gave a head coach an extension, it was Jim Caldwell in 2017, and he was fired months later. The last time they gave a GM an extension, it was Bob Quinn, and he was fired 2 years later. So how significant is it, Mike, that, again, you got Brad and Dan, the kind of chemistry they have, they're extended for a couple more years now?
Yeah, well, Bob Quinn hired Matt Patricia, so that pretty much doomed his
Mhm.
job right there. And then drafting Jeffrey Okudah really didn't help for those two. And then Matt Patricia is just an absolute clown. I'm happy that these guys got extended. I love these guys, and Spielman got extended as well, 4-year deal. So look, when you have all the chefs, the holy trinity right now for the Lions leadership in Spielman, Brad Holmes, and Dan Campbell, that's a good thing. They got extended because they're awesome at what they do. They're not perfect. They're awesome. And, you know, well deserved for all those guys. And again, if there's criticism towards that, at that point, it's just clicking for views or something, because these guys deserve the extension. When you have a general manager that is basically GM of the year, and you have a head coach that potentially could have been head coach of the year, yeah, you're doing pretty good. Extend these guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I saw that immediately, and I'm like, you know, this is foreign to me, Mike, and it's foreign to most Lions fans. Like, typically, especially like I just brought up Bob Quinn, Jim Caldwell, the last two that were extended, and they were fired shortly after. I mean, it kind of just shows what the Lions are building. I mean, some would say we had to go through some of those comments the last couple of days talking about Brad Holmes and the moves he's made, and people are already saying, I don't want to say completely out on Brad Holmes, but it's been like, yeah, Brad, I don't know, guys. He's kind of fumbling this free agency. I can't believe we've gotten to that point, Mike. Like, I'm surprised it's been this bad. Like, especially coming off the NFC Championship game and how the line. I get there's questions, Mike, but damn, I don't know what you had to deal with kind of doing your content and how Lions fans have been, but not everybody. I know most of the chat's been okay, but there's a couple, Mike, that are overreacting like terribly.
I seen the comments. I'm like, oh my God, am I just like a complete homer here? Like, am I that like not upset with what's going on? Like, holy cow, folks. They said the same thing about Brad Holmes' draft last year. And look how that worked out. Oh, this is the worst draft of all time. This Jahmyr Gibbs. You don't take a running back at 12. Jack Campbell. Exactly. Look at this guy. Brian Branch. Okay, that's good, but a tight end. Yeah, three of these guys probably like all pro. Like, so yeah, everybody criticizes it, especially a lot of people in the media. They want to criticize Brad Holmes. Sit back, folks. Understand that building a roster is through the draft. Okay, that is where you're getting your main parts of this football team. Panay Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The list goes on. That is the staples. And free agency is not going to be the staple. It is rare to find a Golden Tate or a Glover Quinn. But what you want to do is you get complement pieces in free agency. And that's what they have done. And guess what? If a guy does well, you can extend him. If he stinks, well, it's a one-year deal. Let him walk anyway. So I cannot understand the ideas of people saying it's time to fire Brad Holmes and he doesn't know what he's doing and all this crazy stuff. The guy's proven it. What else can he do? really don't understand what Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell possibly could do at this point to deserve the criticism and the backlash that they get for free agency every single year.
Well, Mike, we're going to get to just 2 member questions here. I like to do this. People are going to ask 2 questions, and we'll get you out of here. ETN will start us off. He says, question, top 5 biggest threats to the Lions in the NFC. What do you think, Mike? Top 5 NFC threat, the biggest threats.
Oh, San Francisco 49ers. They're going to be up there for sure. Obviously, the Philadelphia Eagles, I think they'll be better. They got some new coaches over there for sure. Dallas Cowboys, they're still going to be good. I know we all hate these guys, but they're still going to be good. The Green Bay Packers in there. And how about the Atlanta Falcons? They have had a great offseason right now. And getting Rondale Moore, trading their Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore is a nice little sneaky. Bijan Robinson, Rondale Moore, Drake London, Kirk Cousins. That team is an under the radar team right there. Was that 4 or 5? I don't even know. I think 5. Okay, there we go.
There you go. Next question we got, and it's from Steve. And I'm kind of curious in terms of addressing the kicker position. Mike, you think they'll do it in the draft, or you think they maybe sign a kicker in free agency?
I think they're just going to go in the draft, 6th or 7th round pick and get yourself a kicker right there. Brad Holmes made it clear that they're going to get competition to the kicker room right there. And guess what? They haven't signed anybody. And a lot of people on the street is not really the long-term solution. Right. Cody, they can go ahead and get this guy, 7th round pick, and that could be your starter potentially for a long time unless he Nate freezes. But that's the best way for me, right? Just get a guy in the draft and let him compete.
Yeah, no doubt. We appreciate you, Mike. Thank you for taking the time, man. You guys can check out Mike. We'll have his channel.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Mike, check him out. We'll talk to you soon. All right, brother?
All right, peace, man. Go Lions. And we're going to win the Super Bowl, I'm telling you.
Hey.
Super season. Let's go, Mike.
I can get with that, Mike. There you go. MicroMike.